Hello, and welcome to another episode of Leadership Table Talk, a show designed to help you develop and improve your leadership and management skills and talents. I'm your host, Dr. Mary Gillam, a retired Air Force colonel and former member of the Senior Executive Service Corps with the Department of Defense. In addition to being a #1 Amazon bestselling author of 12 books, I'm the owner of M2G Dynamic Leadership Solutions, LLC, and the creator of the board game, The Leadership Build Zone. As a seasoned leader, the Bible has always been my greatest guidebook for developing my leadership skills, understanding my divine purpose, and discovering my gifts. I firmly believe that when you operate in your gifts, that is where you are going to thrive. I am so excited about our topic for today, biblical wisdom for personal leadership that yields unlimited success. To discuss this topic with me is my dear friend, Dr. Stephanie L. Foster, who is a retired Army colonel and the CEO of Intentionally Me, LLC. Stephanie is also the author of the book, Me Intentionally, 7 Biblical Strategies for Godly Success. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mary. I am pleased to be here with you.
Thank you. Well, let's begin by just telling the audience a little bit about your background.
Well, our end is quite similar, both of us being retired colonels. I would say in terms of leadership, it started out with my family base. I am a military brat, as it is known. I'm the daughter of an Army officer. Yes. So I grew up with leadership being the bread and butter of our family foundation. I decided as a teenager that I wanted to go to West Point to become a leader. So after graduating from West Point, I then served in the Army for over 25 years. And after that, decided that it was time for me to become a CEO and to lead my own company. That's it in a snapshot, if we were to do the Reader's Digest version.
Oh, that's wonderful, Stephanie. Since you did go to West Point as one of the few females that have graduated from West Point, how did that experience influence you as a leader?
I always think about what are the lessons learned from experiences. And so if I were to focus on one particular lesson, it would be this. I would say that authentic leadership elevates. Do you want me to go further?
Oh, absolutely. That's wonderful. Please.
I would say that authentic leadership is that leadership that looks beyond the exterior, that allows that leader to see what's inside of an individual in terms of their character and their potential. So there at West Point at that time, it was so important to have those leaders who could see beyond the external and look into me and see what it is that I had to offer as a leader. Those were the leaders that were able to see where I was presently, where I could go, and help me to make that distance up between those 2 points. And because of that, I was affirmed and I was inspired to be better and to treat others in a similar manner. So for me, authentic leadership elevates.
That is wonderful, Stephanie. Now, let's fast forward to today. Okay. What in your leadership journey has prepared you to be a CEO?
There is so much that I think would be transferable between the military career and my civilian career. And I could boil it down to my appreciation for critical thinking skills. Yes. Military career often had important missions, had to be able to bring the team together to perform that mission, often in places that were new, dynamic, whatever the case may be. You knew that you had to get the mission done. Yes, Army, Air Force, doesn't matter, get the mission done and get it done well. Well, as a CEO, problem solving, again, this time I have to understand within the marketplace, what's the problem that my company is uniquely equipped to solve? Yes. And then knowing that problem, how do you solve that in a way that your clients desire?
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, Stephanie, tell me just a little bit about your company. What do you do and what services do you provide?
Sure. Intentionally Me, it's about leadership. It's an innovative leadership development company. So to make it easy for everyone to understand what we offer in leadership, I think of a stool, a three-legged stool. Speaking, coaching, and training. Those are the three main legs of this three-legged stool. But the foundation for all of those three areas of activity is the writing. And that's within leadership themes.
Now, Stephanie, regarding your book, Me Intentionally, 7 Biblical Strategies for Godly Success, can you just talk a little bit about the title and what inspired you to actually write this book?
Sure. I'll take it in 2 parts. The first part with the Me Intentionally. Hopefully, our readers would be able to understand that this speaks to a decision to choose to embrace who you are completely. We have too many people that are trying to be like someone else, and as much as I admire who you are, Mary, and all other friends that I have, I would never be the best Mary there could be. I would always be second rate, and I think I'd always be frustrated because I would not be fulfilling that which I've been purposed to do. Right. So in Me Intentionally, that's making a decision saying that I choose to be me fully.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That's the first part, yes. And then how do I do this? 7 biblical strategies that allow you to achieve that with godly success, meaning that kind of success without sorrow. That kind of success where you can sleep well at night, that kind of success where you can enjoy every day. That's the 2 parts that I'm putting together with this book.
Can you talk a little bit more about those actual strategies?
Sure. I can't tell everything because I like people to read the book, which is absolutely awesome. But I will focus upon one strategy that I speak of, that being strategy number 4 of Do It Today. Taking it real easy. For the Do It Today, that speaks to the action that has to come along with the decision. It's great to make a decision to do something. That's wonderful. Now, put the action along with that decision. So with Do It Today, that means that once you've decided where you are, where it is you want to go, and you have charted a course for how to get to from the start point to that finish point, every day, you look at what are those steps that I can take that get me closer and closer to my goal every day. So you do it now. You start today. Life is very forgiving. So I know sometimes we may fall short and things don't quite go the way you plan, but you start each day fresh, knowing that this day there are things that I can choose to do that will take me further along my path and closer to my desired end. So that's Do It Today. Don't procrastinate. It's too easy to procrastinate because then that's a robber of your time. And time is a very finite resource. We don't get do-overs. We can't do anything with surplus, none of that. So I have to do what I can that best aligns with where it is that I choose to go. And that's doing it today, every day. What can I do today?
So can you take that that strategy and kind of relate it back to your military career and just talk about some of the things that maybe you were involved with that says, okay, we need to get this done today, especially as a leader and a commander?
Okay, so you want me to go back to the military career?
Yes, if you could just talk a little bit about that.
Sure, could very easily do that. What's so important with the problem solving that we did as military commanders is that you had to be able to, first of all, establish that plan. You had to be very strategic in nature. You had to know where you were, what it was you're trying to achieve, and what were those steps to get there.
Yes.
And you had to be very clear in articulating that action plan and that vision to your team members for them to be able to understand. Because once you understood those milestones, then you could prioritize what it was that you had to do within your resources. Time, money, you name whatever it is, you then had that directionality that would allow you to understand what is most important. And the good thing about this, Mary, is that when you decided and understood what's important, you're able also to understand what were those things that were distractors. What are those actions that did not lead to you accomplishing that particular mission. So that kept you on focus. So it was very easy for you as a leader to be able to help your team members have that directionality.
Yes.
So you could always chart your course and know if you're going in that right direction. And if not, course correct and get back where you needed to go.
Absolutely.
But you weren't just endlessly going in circles, doing a lot of stuff that didn't take you closer
Right.
to what you needed to do.
I love what Miles Monroe used to say. You can be doing a good thing, but not necessarily the right thing.
Absolutely.
So, Stephanie, let's talk a little bit more about the topic here, biblical wisdom for personal leadership that yields unlimited success. Can you talk about how your particular book actually fits into that particular area?
Absolutely. With the connection between the success and the biblical wisdom, it's all grounded in that belief that God designed you for a specific purpose.
Yes.
And His purpose for you was determined before His design of you.
Yes.
So, with the purpose that you were to fulfill, He designed you with the capabilities that would enable you to fulfill that purpose. And when you team with God, using His wisdom and strategies, that allows you to have full access to His empowerment, that allows you to be able to find that success that you gain in fulfilling your purpose.
Yes.
That's how it all fits together, your purpose, your design, and your empowerment. Is that making sense?
Oh, that is wonderful, Stephanie, how you were able to tie that together like that. So would you say that being intentional is something that you have always done from the time you joined the military?
Have you ever thought that some of the things that you've done as a leader, in retrospect, you understand what it is that you did, but at the time, you were acting out of instinct?
Yes.
And so your question is really provocative for me, because at times you know that you are setting plans, you know that you are executing as into the plan and all, but in terms of your personal life, sometimes you may not see that same kind of deliberateness, and that intentionality. But now looking back, it's all the same, whether it's in your professional realm, your personal realm, the same skill set works so wonderfully. So when I'm intentional about what it is that I want and how I want to achieve it and focusing upon that, it's amazing the power that I have to be able to do that versus just wishing and wanting, but never taking the steps to actually set it in motion.
Would you say that your father helped to influence that in you since he was also a military officer?
Absolutely, absolutely, because so often he was in a position where he had problems that he had to solve, and you had to go about it in a disciplined manner, because again, he had limited resources, but the expectation was get the mission done and get it done well. And so he often would have to come home and he would think about what was going on and what he had available to him to get the mission accomplished.
Well, it looks like we've come to a break, so we will be back with you shortly.
After leaving the military, some veterans may face homelessness, but they aren't alone in the battle. Thanks to a simple phone call, they can get help from a trained professional at VA. If you know of or are a veteran in need, call 877-424-3838.
Welcome back to Leadership Table Talk. My guest today is Dr. Stephanie Foster. The conversation has been so good that, it's something that you really, really need to stay tuned for. And so as we begin this segment of the show, I really want to really dive down into her book a little bit more because it's such a wonderful book, Me Intentionally, 7 Biblical Strategies for Godly Success. So Stephanie, in looking at your table of contents, in chapter 1, you talk about keep first things first. Can you just kind of talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, it's so important to understand and to do those things that are most important to you at the beginning of the day. That way you start off the day already a success. So when we're talking about the biblical wisdom for that believer, that first thing being first would be connecting with God, getting your power for the day, getting ready for the day, getting set for the day. So first things first, getting yourself settled and being ready for what the day has for you and thinking that through. thinking about how this is going to be a day where you're going to be successful. Getting yourself prepared for the day instead of having the day throw things at you and you're, always battling, wondering, what's coming next, that kind of thing. Isn't it even more powerful to start the day off knowing that you are going out ready for it? And even though you may not know what's coming your way, you do know that you have the ability to what? Overcome and to be successful with what happens. Having that mindset of, I'm ready. You've been empowered. You know what's important. And you know your value. You start the day off knowing that you are valued, knowing that you are loved, and that you are affirmed. And it goes bigger than just yourself as the focus, because how wonderful is it to be able to look at your loved ones. And again, most people would say that their family is so important to them. To start off that day saying, I love you. To look them in the eyes, really, and just say, I appreciate you, before anything else happens for that day, for them to walk out of that house knowing that they are loved, that they're valued, that they are special, and someone cares what happens to them. There's almost no better way to start the day. First things first.
Oh, wow, that is awesome. When I think about that, I think about the book that Stephen Covey wrote, in which he did talk about keeping the main thing, the main thing.
Yes.
So that is just absolutely fabulous. So in chapter 2, you talk about set the atmosphere. Can you kind of go into a little bit more detail about that?
Sure. And for setting the atmosphere, I take it in the 3 dimensions: spirit, soul, and body. So with the spirit, I was getting to that with the first things first, because again, there you are setting your mindset to what? One of success, one of achievement, one of diligence. You're setting yourself up, your spirit, to what? Make sure that you're tracking with where it is you want to be. Yes. That you're set, that set point is set in terms of your identity. Your spirit, your identity, because we're talking about me intentionally. So you're making sure that you start the day out clean, that you understand that you're valued, that you do have something important to contribute. Doesn't matter what your particular assignment is, but knowing that your assignment is important, that it has value, and that you've got to be attentive to that. And you've got to, guard that, doing what it is that you were supposed to do for that day. So that's a spiritual component of it. Next, it goes to the soul component. So that's basically dealing with the mind and your decision making. And that's so important, setting that atmosphere, deciding at the beginning of that day and at different points during the day that you will be able to do what it is you need to do for that day. Approaching it from a position of strength. Believing that you will have whatever it is that you need at that time that you need it to get it done. That mindset, already setting yourself up to say, I can. And that's huge. I can. And I will. Because many times during the day, have you ever thought about those opportunities that you had to walk away from things or to give up or to stop trying? But if you've decided for that day that if you were going after some kind of a weight loss goal, and you said that I'm committed to doing my 30 minutes of walking around the block, it could be very tempting at minute 20 to say, it's cold, I don't want to do this, blah, 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 right? But if you had started out that morning saying, I can do this, it's important for me to do this because I need to do this for myself. And then you can find yourself cheering yourself up, saying, you got this. It makes a difference. That decision making. Yes. And the body part of it is following through, actually doing. So in that same kind of scenario, legs, keep going. Let's go. One step in front of the other. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. In an office environment, for that body component, that's setting up an atmosphere that is pleasing to you or affirming to you. So if you spend, or invest is a better term, if you invest so much of your life in this particular space, why not make it be a space where you have things that you love and that inspire you? So if you like those beautiful plants, who said that you can have a beautiful plant right there in your desk or whatever else, or have a picture that shows you at your best or shows you doing whatever it is that inspires you to your best work? So set up that environment where you have things that you love that inspire you. back in your house when you start off the day. Have things around you in those rooms that inspire you to your best, things that you love, things that make you smile. So you start off the day already feeling good. Instead of having things around that, have you ever had things around that, sort of set your teeth on edge?
Oh, yes.
You're like, I can't stand that couch, things that you don't need that. You have the power to be able to create that environment that brings out the best in you.
And that gets back to being intentional.
Absolutely.
Be intentionally.
Absolutely.
This morning I was listening to Dr. Charles Stanley, and he was ministering on being disciplined. And so when I was listening to you, I was just drawn back to what he was saying this morning, what it means to be disciplined, and that goes with being intentional as well.
Sure.
Well, Stephanie, and Chapter 3, you talk about be grateful. Can you kind of expound on that a little bit more?
Sure. When I think about being grateful, many people think, oh, you're going around with a smile on your face and you've got all these kind of things, a list that you're happy for, things that you appreciate in your life, and that's big. That's huge. What I also want to bring about is an understanding that if I am focusing upon being grateful and appreciative for what I have, it's hard for me in that same space to be negative and critical of what I don't have. It's hard for both of those mindsets to exist in the same place. Something is going to dominate.
Right.
So my thing is being intentional about being grateful for what it is you have right now, where you are right now. What's the good in it? What's the meaning in it? What can you learn? What can you gain from where you are right now, in this moment? That's sort of being grateful, and having that mindset of being able to see what it is that you have. Because for me, and my military career, and also as a CEO, I've never solved a problem with something I didn't have.
Oh, that's
I've
deep.
always solved a problem with what I have.
Yes.
And sometimes it may not be at the level of maturity that you want, but you still have those raw ingredients. So in being grateful, I can appreciate what I have and know what I can work with to get to where I'm going.
So Stephanie, based on all of the things that we've talked about so far with your book, let's talk a little bit about how your book can actually help organizations to thrive and get to that next level.
Okay. So for the organization, in my mind, I see an organization as the sum of its parts, and its parts being the individual team members. So for an organization, if I look at my greatest resource, that's my people. So if I can get my people in the place where they are best equipped to perform, look at their talents, how well do these talents align with their missions and their assignments? And if I can best assign them where they can best operate and propel the mission, and if I have that happening in all levels and all departments, what do you think that's going to do for my organization? What kind of environment is that going to create? It's going to be that inclusive environment where it's almost infectious in a good way, because people are they're moving towards that goal, and they're doing what they were created to do, and they're being nurtured in doing so, and it becomes that kind of environment where you can't wait to get to work to see what more you can do. And the organization benefits from that kind of environment. Some of those benefits could easily be increased profitability. Because you're making it happen, you're solving the problems. And then you have that mindset of, let's take on something else, give me more. This is what we do. It can also lead to that higher employee engagement. Because again, you see others, and you are just propelled in that spirit of excellence, of being even more excellent yourself.
That's a good point, Stephanie, because I was just curious about, in terms of the CEO, and how can the CEO himself or herself take on the mantle of being intentional with what they do in the organization to make it better?
I would say that clarity is so important, because when you have your various team members, and especially I saw this in the military background that I had, if I understand as a team member what my primary role is, and I understand its importance to the organizational mission, that makes things a whole lot easier for me. because I understand what's important for me to do. I understand what the expectations are for me. So for me as that CEO, how do I organize my team for success, for them to understand how they play into the larger mission? They have to understand the large mission and where they fit in.
Absolutely.
And then that means how do they operate with those to their left and to their right, and they're within that same sphere. How do we come together holistically to perform that primary mission, clarity?
So,
that's so important as a CEO to provide that.
So Stephanie, it looks like we're going to be coming up on the end of this program very soon. So I want to make sure that people know that you are available for speaking engagements on this topic. And where can they find your books and find out more about you?
They could start with the website for Intentionally Me, www.intentionallymellc.com. That provides the opening entree to what Intentionally Me is about, the products and services that Intentionally Me provides, dealing with the speaking, coaching, and the training. In terms of my books, readily available on Amazon.com.
Absolutely. Well, Stephanie, it looks like we've just run out of time, but I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and be with us today. And I also want to thank you, our listening audience, for watching our show. And if you would like to know more about this particular show, please contact me on my website, M2GLeadershipBiz.com. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.